So now the Buffalo Bills are going to have to make some difficult decisions as the new league year is set to begin on March 1st. We have a couple of pending free agents, those that were massive role players to this team in 2024. And as many of us know, we only have, actually, we have less than $14 million in the bank account. In fact, when I ended up looking at our overall cap space, we are currently $14 million over the cap. And granted, that's not the end of the world because Brandon Beane in the front office can certainly make some moves, whether or not that it's through restructures or whether or not that it's through extensions to free up some cap space, maybe even some cuts. Who the hell knows at this point? But I did kind of want to give you guys a good understanding of what exactly we're working with financially. And right here, this is the entire list of pending free agents that the Buffalo Bills could or they could not re-sign and bring back to the team, right? We have Amari Cooper, Rasul Douglas, Austin Johnson, Mack Hollins, whose today's video is going to be on Smoot. We have Reggie Gilliam, we have Quentin Jefferson, Ty Johnson, one of the best third down backs in the NFL, if you were to ask me. You have Quentin Morris, you have Phillips as well, right in the interior, Reed Ferguson as well, our long snapper, who I think will be coming back. And we see that Ryan Van Denmark, Alec Anderson, and also Shane Buechele have already been given futures contracts for this team. So they are already taken care of. But obviously today, we got to talk about the shoeless wonder himself, Mack Hollins. And let me tell you what, damn it, I still didn't have my appropriate. Here, hold up. Forgive me, ladies and gentlemen. We have to go on ahead and make sure that this audio is nice and crispy for you. But like I said, we need to discuss Mack Hollins today. And he was a beautiful story the second that he was signed for the Buffalo Bills. If I could hop in a time machine, scroll through X, and see everybody complaining and bitching about us signing Mack Hollins. Oh, great. Bills are cooked, man. Best wide receiver we have is Mack Hollins. I actually remember having TD Finstock from the AFC East Roundtable completely troll me when I was like, listen, watch out for Mack Hollins. He might actually have a pretty good season. And lo and behold, he turned into a pretty quality role player for this team. A player that, in my opinion, should have just been a special teams contributor. He was actually one of Josh Allen's favorite targets, and he ultimately ended up having a hell of a season. Dare I say, the best season that he has had in his 31-year career. Now, what I kind of want to take a look at is how did our boy Mack Hollins do this year when it came into this, right? I have pulled up his career stats, and the take that I just ultimately ended up making was not a far cry by any stretch of the imagination. Mack Hollins had a hell of a damn 2024. The shoeless wonder. The guy that doesn't use silverware when he eats because it is for betas, for beta boys. Solid year, right? Like he started 13 games opposed to the previous 3 games he started with Atlanta after the fact. He had 50 targets, 31 receptions, 378 yards, 5 touchdowns, 25 first downs, success rate at 58, and then yards per game about 22.2. Now, he was definitely a threat, right? Like most touchdowns right within his overall career. And no, I'm not saying that I think he's going to be wide receiver 1 or his statistics are going to skyrocket and we're going to see him crack 700 yards in 2025. But as far as role players, as far as guys that get it, as far as great culture guys, I am exceptionally open to welcoming Mack Hollins back. Now, there's going to be some difficult conversations because, again, like I said, all of these players right here, folks, especially if a lot of us are praying and hoping that we can bring Myles Garrett onto this team, for example, or we want to bring in a different cornerback that might be intriguing. I would have to guess 4 or 5 of these guys that are currently free agents or unrestricted free agents are ultimately going to be brought back. But Mack Hollins is certainly interesting. Now, here is what Spot Track considers to be his market value the second that this guy becomes an unrestricted free agent, which he already is. And it's pretty reasonable. It's pretty reasonable, folks. $2.4 million average annual salary. And he is calling for a 1-year deal for about that right then and there. Now, it's interesting about a contract like this, right? Because you could very well just guarantee about $1 million on this, or you can guarantee $500,000, $600,000, and then he would be able to earn the outright 2.4 million if he hits certain deliverables, right? Like, say for example, he is healthy all year, or he starts every single game. That is how he ultimately ends up unlocking the full $2.4 million annual salary. And this is something that I genuinely believe that he would take, right? Based off of his production, and also based off of the fact that Mack Hollins is 31 years old. He's set to be 32 next year during the season by itself, I believe around November. I think this is a pretty modest salary for Mack Hollins going into it. I would welcome him back with open arms, and I'm very excited to see what everybody else who is tuning in today to let me know. Now, let's go on ahead and dive into the chat. Let's talk about Mack Hollins. Let's talk about all pending unrestricted free agents. What needs to be prioritized? As a reminder, guys, I am doing this for every single player on the face of the planet. All right. If a player is an unrestricted free agent on this Buffalo Bills team, we are going to be having a dedicated video, a dedicated stream to said person. If there is a pending free agent that I would like the Buffalo Bills to pursue, I'm going to make a video about that guy. If there is a trade target out there that I genuinely believe that the Buffalo Bills should kick the tires on, I'm going to make a video about that. So if you are watching the replay on this, I highly recommend that if you are subscribed, just go on ahead and turn on those bell notifications, because while I enjoy all of my replay watchers, I want to get each and every single one of you in my live chat community, as I am live Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. EST and also at 5:15 p.m. EST. Shout out to today's sponsor, and that just so happens to be William Mattar, baby. If you are hurt in a car, you better call William Mattar, #1 car accident attorney in the state of New York. Now, being in a car accident is never fun, and I don't wish that on anybody, but you have to make sure that you have the correct representation, and look no further than William Mattar. Phone number is on the screen. And always keep that top of mind in case you ever have to go through that unfortunate scenario. Shout out to the chat, guys. Do me a favor, smash that like button if you haven't had an opportunity of doing so far. It is the easiest way to support what I am doing over here. If you are just joining now live, we broke down Mack Hollins' production in 2024. We also ended up breaking down his market value according to Spot Track, which is being called for a 1-year, $2.4 million deal, which I think all of us would agree is indeed a reasonable ask. So let's go on ahead and talk about it. We have Jonathan Reyes podcast is saying, like the video. Absolutely, guys. Easiest way. All right. There is, let me see, 144 of you in here, 75 on YouTube, 67 of you on X. If you are on YouTube, guys, just do me a favor and hit that thumbs up sign for me. Just makes it an easy experience. I love it. I just got here. Short answer, hell the F yeah. Well, Dante, first off, man, I hope all has been well. It's been a minute. Listen, out of all of the pending unrestricted free agents, and granted, I'm going to be discussing each and every single one of them, or at least guys that I genuinely believe that I think that Brandon Beane would be interested in bringing back. I think Mack Hollins is toward the top of my list. It's not Amari Cooper, and trust me, we're going to go on ahead and make a video on that sometime. I mean, whatever it is. I have like an absolute binder worth of content and discussion topics that we're going to be going over for weeks on weeks. So, I mean, listen, dude, we brought him in to exclusively be a special teams contributor. And again, I think this whole Stephon Diggs trade that occurred last offseason, we built our team with all of like these new players, of course, like Mack Hollins, like Curtis Samuel, with the intention and the thought that Stephon Diggs was going to play. And what makes me love Mack Hollins more than I already do is the fact that we brought him in to be a special teams contributor, because he has been a dog on special teams his entire career, but he certainly did step up for this team. His chemistry with Josh Allen is there. He seems to be a very well-liked guy within the locker room. And for a year, $2.4 million, say, for example, that we can just guarantee about like $500,000 of that, that is pennies compared to what some of these other guys are going to be costing. So I think Mack Hollins is going to make a little bit of money. I think that he is going to be back to being a Buffalo Bill, and I cannot wait. Would like the Bills to sign Holland from Miami. He is a free agent. He is a free agent. Maybe I'll go ahead and make a video on that a little later. I really don't think Hollywood Brown is right for us. Neither do I, my friend. Dan, you won't read my comments because you're scared of the Dolphins. We have a Dolphins fan with the Chicago Bulls profile picture. Very, very odd. Mack is a good story. I'm having a hard time focusing on him, to be honest. I'm so livid about the Cook stuff. Send him to Cleveland as a trade for Garrett and give some picks. We have Michelangelo coming in. He's mad about James Cook. So let me tell you something. I understand, but I gotta put this out there. We discussed James Cook a lot yesterday. I highly recommend that you check out my stream from yesterday. It is on YouTube. It is unpacking the whole James Cook scenario. And I'll be completely honest with you, man. Pay him. Like, we pay him that, right? I think he genuinely deserves it. I would probably contribute 50% of the success. 50% goes to Josh Allen, and the other 50% goes to James Cook for the success of this overall offense. James Cook's trajectory and his development from year 1 to year 2 to year 3 is only suggesting one thing and one thing only, that this man is about to have a top 3 running back production in the NFL. If James Cook, for example, was 30 years old or 29 years old, or he's been in his prime for the past 2 or 3 years, then maybe we wouldn't be having this conversation. But he's 26. His vision is incredible. I know a lot of people are upset about his potential in pass blocking, but that's why we run jumbo packages in the first place. Like, we have 6 offensive linemen out there to add that additional protection. We have Ty Johnson as our third back, right? Like, $15 million for James Cook is really not that crazy, right? Especially since all of us are going out there saying, hey, like, we want Myles Garrett, who's more than likely going to be owed $30 million a year, and he's 30 years old as a defensive end, or he is approaching 30 years old. I think $15 million is not nearly as scary as a lot of people are making it out to be, because this running back position has been largely undervalued, and a lot of the times it doesn't really eat up any of the cap. If we could guarantee him a particular amount, get him down to about 12 to 13, 110%, because he deserves it. He is 50% of the reason why I think our offense ultimately ended up becoming the most productive statistical offense in Buffalo Bills franchise history and the number 1 scoring offense in all of football in 2024 when you include playoffs. Like, I don't think that people should say running backs are a dime a dozen. With James Cook, man, I say we run it back and we make this man happy, because you want to know why? Dude's in his prime, and that's genuinely what I believe that we need to do. If you want a superstar defensive end here, I would rather pay him than Cook. I don't really think that $15 million a year, especially with how contracts work, are going to really affect how much a superstar defensive end is going to look like. Like, yes, I agree that we can go on ahead and get, like, guys, listen, we could get a Myles Garrett and we could extend James Cook. Like, that's essentially how you end up just breaking down contracts, by guaranteeing quite a bit of money, backloading the entire contract as well. I think James Cook is a priority for this offense, and don't think that that means that we're not going to be able to go on ahead and still afford a player like Myles Garrett, because he's not that expensive. Like, he's literally only owed 1.2 in 2025 and 1.3 in 2026. We can give him a brand new contract. And who knows if he even wants to have a new contract this year, since he just ended up getting paid like an absolute animal. Like, he has made it clear that the number one thing he wants to do is go to a team where he could actually contend and win something. So that's me. I'm fine with James Cook. We sit there, we give him a signing bonus of about 60% of his overall contract, and we boil him down to about $1.3 million base salary, which barely touches the cap in the first place. I'm pretty big when it comes into there. And the Bills are 13-2 versus Miami. All right, guys, listen, I am not going to acknowledge any more comments where people are just arguing amongst themselves that has nothing to do with the topic, because that is not fair to the people that are watching the replay of this overall episode. Now that he unfollowed the Bills, the optics, though, Here's the question. I'm not even sure that he followed them in the first place, right? And this is something that players do all the time. Like, we need to understand that a 25, 26-year-old, for the most part, likes to mess around with people on the internet. Like, I'm 33 years old, and I love to mess around with people on the internet. So I'm not even particularly sure if he followed the Buffalo Bills in the first place. And to be completely honest with you, that's kind of where I'm at. That's kind of where I'm at. Douglas, for example, XL Putt. I don't think we keep Douglas, in my opinion. He's going to be gone. He's going to be gone. We're going to make a video on that as well. So we're going to make a video on that as well here shortly. But as far as Rasul Douglas, I think that we could also end up hitting free agency for like a bargain bin player. There's a couple of prospects in the draft that I particularly like. And guys, also remember that we are in a much better position, a much, much, much better position financially than we were last year. Yes, we're $14 million over the cap, but last year was significantly worse. Significantly worse. And in fact, you know what? Because I feel like people kind of have like a misrepresented interpretation of how much money we potentially have with some of the cuts that we can put in, as far as some of the restructures, extensions. So I think on the later stream, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start really unpacking the Buffalo Bills cap situation and see how much money we could potentially make, because it's not as dire as quite a few people could go through. As a Ravens fan, I think the Bills should keep him. He showed up more than not. Robert Smith, what's going on? What's going on, Rob? Hope all is well. I'm glad you're back, man. I'm glad you're vibing. I'm glad you're vibing with me, man. I'm glad that you are vibing with me, even during the offseason, even after the Buffalo Bills and the Ravens game. Always a good thing. But I'll tell you what, I have a show for you that I think that you're really going to enjoy. Guys, on Monday, I am launching the Dan Mitchell Show, which is going to be an NFL talk show where I am going to be getting on as many guests as humanly possible. That is including NFL draft prospects. I'm working on getting a couple of players on here, a bunch of reporters here and there. It is a massive opportunity. And as many of you know, I love talking football in general. So my very own show, ladies and gents, is going to be dropping on Monday. I'm going to be doing it at 10 a.m. EST. That just means my morning stream is going to be an hour earlier from now on. So keep that in mind. But I'm going to ask to make sure that each and every single one of you go subscribe to Round Table Sports. I am going to put this at the top of the live chat for each and every single one of you to go subscribe to. So you have the link right in front of you. However, I'm going to go on ahead and put this out real fast. And I want each and every single one of you to go subscribe because, as many of you know, I love football. And obviously, I'm a big Buffalo Bills fan. I talk NFL. So the Dan Mitchell Show is officially starting on Monday, and that's going to be at 10 a.m. EST, or so 11 a.m. EST, excuse me. So do me a favor and go on ahead and subscribe to Roundtable Sports and turn on those bell notifications so you are ready for it, man. We're going to have a lot of really cool guests, a lot of really, really cool guests, man. Some players, some draft prospects, some actual media heads to come on and talk a little ball, move over Pat McAfee show. We're building it up. So I just went on ahead and I just ended up pinning the link. I'm going to pin the link right now on top of the live chat. And for anyone that's curious of what the channel looks like, this is what we're talking about right here. We have some exclusive shows already. We have Wake Up and Ball with Richie and TD, who do their thing on a regular basis. And then for all of you that are interested for our divisional debate shows as well, we have an AFC East roundtable where it's myself and the rest of the AFC East contributors, NFC North, AFC South as well. We have an NFC West show, NFC East, AFC North, AFC West, NFC South. We have a lot of things cooking up over at Roundtable Sports. So I highly recommend you guys go check that out. And I want to break records for the first episode of the Dan Mitchell Show on Monday. So certainly do me a favor and go subscribe to that channel and turn on bell notifications so we don't miss a single episode. Dan, James Cook unfollowed the Bills on social media and has removed the images of him as a Buffalo Bill. I feel like that happens for like each and every single player that's due a contract. In my opinion, And here's something that I really want each and every single one of you to understand, right? And this is probably a hard pill to swallow, but this is just me looking at it from a different perspective. All right. And my perspective is this: all of these players, Josh Allen included, like all of our star players, they have absolutely zero loyalty to this Buffalo Bills organization and or this city. The way that James Cook looks at the Buffalo Bills is the exact same way that all of us look at our employer, right? If, for example, like we were working our day to day and we see the production that we are able to put out on for the company, which in this sense, James Cook is the Buffalo Bills, but then we hear that somebody that's nowhere near as good as us is getting paid 10x what we are. Damn right, we're going to be upset. We want to be paid what we're worth. There is absolutely zero difference between us always trying to find a better financial opportunity with our employer than anything else, right? So I'm never mad at players for like being like, so not divas, but showing frustration of not being paid appropriately. And that's something that it took me a long time sort of wrap my head around it, but it's absolutely correct. It's absolutely correct. Don't think that these players have any loyalty to our city and or our team exclusively because they are their employer. The Bills is James Cook's job, and he wants to get more money, or otherwise he wants to go find a different company that pays him what he is worth. And that is the case for every single player that has ever played the game ever. I promise you that. But I'm not mad at James Cook for it. I frankly believe that he deserves a solid contract. $15 million. I'm not sure if that could work with our cap. But to be completely honest with you, I do think that if we can get him around 11 or $12 million, but guarantee about 75% of it, like a shit ton of guarantees for him, and like make it like a 4-year deal where like we could really distribute it out, sign me up, right? Like think about it. 12 million bucks per year average annual salary. 12, 24, 36, 48, right? A $48 million $4 4-year contract. With James Cook afterwards, we would convert a lot of that to a signing bonus. So let's just say that we guaranteed like 30 million of the 48, right? Like 30 million of the 48. That's automatically paid to him immediately. 30 million in his bank account, just like that. Okay. And then how the cap works is that we take that 30 million and then we end up dividing it by 4 and equally spread it across for the remainder of the life cycle of said contract, making his salary about $2 to $3 million a year. And that's the only thing that goes against the year's current cap, right? So I think 12 million is fine. I'd be fine with 15 million, but just guarantee a shit ton of it for a signing bonus. So that way that he can go on ahead and we can make it work. So we can bring a game-changing edge rusher. We can go on ahead and re-sign other people. But we will see. He still has 1 year left, so this new contract won't hit until 2026. Exactly, right? So it really wouldn't stop us from still being able to bring in Myles Garrett. It still wouldn't be able to stop us from maybe also like having an extension for somebody else. Because one thing that I feel like we don't talk about enough is we look at all of these pending free agents that we have right now, guys, and we're like, oh man, like this roster is absolutely beautiful, right? Like this roster is absolutely beautiful. Like we're only going to be missing Amari Cooper. What the hell did he do for us last year? Let's be honest. Douglas, what the hell did he do? But what you always need to look at is who the pending free agents are in 2026. Because you want to know what these guys are? They are extension candidates. So players that the Buffalo Bills organization wants to potentially set forward for the future, lock them down for the future, are all going to be 2026 pending free agents. So who's going to get an extension this offseason? It's not going to be everybody. Hopefully we can wait until the following offseason to last minute extend guys. But like, for example, like let's go ahead and take a look at some of these guys. We have James Cook. He's a pending free agent in 2026. He is obviously an extension candidate. Terrell Bernard is going to be a pending free agent in 2026. He's going to be an extension candidate. Will that be something we get done this year or next year? And we have more names here. We have Alec Anderson as well, who's going to be somebody. You have Christian Benford as well. Like a lot of players that are going to be coming up as pending free agents. So what are we going to do? Same thing with Gregory Rousseau. So I think my question now becomes is that who are the Buffalo Bills going to prioritize? Because we have 2025 and these are all the pending free agents. I'm just going to give you a spoiler alert. I genuinely believe, say that I'm a gambling man, the only players that we bring back are going to be Mack Hollins, Ty Johnson, so Reed Ferguson probably, and I think this is going to piss a lot of people off, but like he really didn't play too bad. He's not going to be a starter next year, but he will be for depth purposes because we have no free safeties on this roster. We just have strong safeties. I think we bring back Damar Hamlin on a small deal too, surprisingly enough. And this has nothing to do with, oh my God, like we're stuck with this guy because we feel bad about his production. No, like we just don't have like many quality starting free safeties like on this team or even backups. Like he's our only one. I still think that we're going to draft a free safety this year. And then I think that he'll probably end up beating like Hamlin out for it. But say that I'm a gambling man with this. It's just going to be Mack Hollins. It's going to be Ty Johnson and Damar Hamlin. Maybe we bring back Jordan Phillips, maybe for depth purposes, but everybody else, I think that we say goodbye. And that's including Smoot, who was a huge contributor for us this year. But always take a look at this, right? 2026, all of these names that we see here could potentially be up for an extension this offseason if Buffalo wants to get it done. If Buffalo wants to get it done, then those are all the names that we're going to have to take a look at. 270 of us in here right now. Absolutely insane. 141 of you on X, 128 of you on YouTube. Guys, please do me a favor. Smash that like button. It's the easiest way to support what I am doing over here on the Dan Mitchell channel. And stay tuned for later this evening, okay? Because, oh, man, we are going to be unpacking the cap space for the Buffalo Bills. How can we fix the cap space going into 2025? That's what we're going to have to do. We're going to be having some fun. Let's make it happen. Does Justin Simmons play free safety? Yeah, but he's old. Hamlin is coming back. Makes me want to do the office scene with Toby and Michael. No, God, no. I mean, look, here's the deal. So do I think that he is a good safety, like a great safety, like top 10, top 15? Absolutely not, right? But do I think that he is terrible? Absolutely not. Don't blame Damar Hamlin because Matthew Smiley decided to run a fake punt with his ass a couple of years ago right in the playoffs. If anybody is the true villain, like in that meme, it has to be Smiley. And thank God that dude's far away from this organization now. I feel like one of the biggest narratives like this offseason, and was even something where I was kind of like scratching my head about it, was Mike Edwards. Like, why the hell is Mike Edwards not starting? Like, why are they making Hamlin go out there and play? Guys, because this is a very difficult pill to swallow, but Hamlin was the best free safety we had on this roster. It's what it is. That's what it is. He was just the best free safety we had on this Buffalo Bills squad. Like that's what it is. As much as we like to say, oh yeah, like Sean McDermott loves to play favorites, maybe, but here's the deal. If Mike Edwards was significantly better than Damar Hamlin, then he would not have been out there. It was so close that Hamlin ultimately ended up winning it. And trust me, I don't want Hamlin to be starting at free safety because I think that we can improve in that overall category. Like, I love a couple of rookies out of the draft, but for depth purposes, like, all we have is strong safeties. We need somebody that's actually semi-decent in coverage, right? Like somebody that could like really defend the back half of the field. They haven't announced the cap increase this year yet, and the rumor is that it's going to be $15 million, but you have to take that into consideration when looking at the numbers right now. Backbone 5, maybe not a bad idea. So maybe not a bad idea. Maybe I'll wait until they officially announce it, which I believe is getting closer right before the new league year on March 1st. So I do know that Franchise tag tenders start on February 18th. Franchise tag tenders are allowed to be given out on the 18th of February. Obviously, we are going to be covering that ad nauseum when it does happen. But we should be hearing about the NFL cap here shortly. Shortly indeed. Dan, and do you really want a DT rotation of Oliver, Jones, Carter, Phillips, and Phillips? Dan, and do you really want a DT rotation of Oliver, Jones, Carter, Phillips, and Phillips? Maybe add in an interior guy from the drafts, and then a couple of other guys that could potentially be free agents, like DJ Jones is interesting. But if we sign a DJ Jones, then we could just say goodbye to Myles Garrett. I'm fine with Oliver and Daquan Jones one more year right in the interior, because if you go on ahead and bring in Myles Garrett on this squad, that opens up Ed Oliver, and that opens up Greg Rousseau, because that's going to draw a shit ton of double teams for it too. I'm fine with the interior rotation for one more year, but I still think that we need to address the interior for the future right during this draft. But I just can't wait to get it done. 13 million of the 14 million we are over in the cap from Groot's 5th-year option on the books. 14 million is not accurate. And here's the beauty about it. So the beauty about it is that he is probably a prime extension candidate for this offseason because of his 5th-year option, which is going to be built into it. So when it comes into it, and we don't know, because like this overall cap space is not finalized at all, because we haven't heard how much it has increased and or decreased. It happens sometimes when it decreases. Everybody is absolutely wrong when it comes into it. But according to Over the Cap, this is where we're at. We're at right here. $14 million over. And that, of course, is still waiting for the updated cap numbers of 2025. And then also some moves that we could potentially make. So none of the numbers you see online are accurate until we get these numbers. Dan, the super logo in blue and gray colors, so whoever teams them colors will make a Super Bowl change. Interesting. Dan, we obviously saw a defense win another Super Bowl. We need to stack our line all in attitude. We got Chewy Baca in the chat. I mean, dude, listen, I think that has been a huge narrative for my channel this year so far during the offseason. It's defense, 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 defense. That's it. Defense, 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 right? Like that's basically all it is. Some people are asking for wide receiver stuff, but I'm going to wait until about the 3rd round for Jalen Royals, who is like my number 1 target. And obviously I need to start unpacking the draft a little bit, but now I'm just focusing exclusively on free agency until all of that is said and done. That's essentially what I'm looking at right now. It's essentially what I'm looking at. Shout out to the mods. Shout out to the mods, baby. Shout out to my mods in here. Mods do a wonderful, wonderful job over here. I just want to thank Mike Green. I want to thank Dwayne. I want to thank all the mods that come in here and do as much work as humanly possible for me. Have definitely made this live chat community a great place to be. I love each and every single one of you who do this for me. Thank you for all the mods that put in all of the hard work. Means so much to me. I would be nowhere without you. Sincerely. Jay, question should be, what should the Bills draft in the 1st round? A cornerback, defensive lineman, or an edge rusher? That, of course, Jay, is as if we have a 1st round pick right to begin with. If we want Myles Garrett, kiss that 1st round pick goodbye. And don't even be upset about it either, because when was the last time we had a game-changing 1st round pick? I can't remember since Josh Allen. Maybe Gregory Rousseau. But we just can't hit on the 1st or the 2nd round, so I'd rather trade for Myles Garrett or trade for Max Crosby, which I think's a little too expensive if you were to ask me. Maybe Trey Hendrickson could make some sense as well. I say go defensive line in the 1st round and try to get Kenneth Grant from Michigan. And so I don't want to trade for Garrett. I so I feel like you're one of the few. I feel like you're one of the few. Luckily, not so much last. Yo, where's my boy Spidey? It happens every season, Corey. All right, I'm sitting here trying to figure out what we got here. Oh, injury bug we're worried about. Let's figure this out. Mike is coming in. Dan, let me get a mod job. I'm unemployed right now, Mike. Oh, Mike, listen, man. My mods like do this with the kindness of their souls. And if you are interested in being a mod just out of your heart and stuff like that, then go on ahead and hit up Dwayne or DF Forever on Discord. And that's probably the best way that you'll be able to get into that. But so they just do it out of the kindness of their heart rather than that. But I'm trying to work on a little gift for all of them. Dan, I think we can give the Browns our first next year for Garrett and one of our thirds and this year and a fourth next year for Metcalf. That solves two of our I feel like we're only good for one major free agent and or trade this offseason. We're not going to be able to go and get all those names, right? So like we're not the like Patriots right now, like swimming in cash. We're not the Washington Commanders swimming in cash right now. We're like toward the bottom of the league. While it's better than last year, it's nowhere near as good as some of these other guys. If we make a trade at all, it's going to be for one dude, right? Now, whether or not that's a defensive tackle, whether or not that's an edge rusher, hopefully Myles Garrett. We wouldn't be able to afford both of that. It's going to be one trade. It's going to be one trade possible and or one major or mid-major free agent acquisition. And then afterwards, it's going to be a bunch of bargain bin like free agents. And it's going to be a bunch of like draftees coming up. But it's okay because I genuinely believe this draft class is loaded in a lot of the position groups that we need. Solid safety class. Solid defensive line class, I would say, as well. Solid corner class, right? So it's solid all around with the exception of QB. So to be completely honest with you, I honestly don't see any QB really succeeding like right in this NFL. It's tough. But I'm not high on any of them. Like maybe outside of Cam Ward and Jackson Dart are the only QBs that I think are going to have solid careers in the NFL. And that's even a stretch. I have never been less confident in a quarterback class than I have been for this upcoming year. But every other position group, solid. Solid all day. Bills need to do what the Eagles did, focus heavy on the defense. Yes, the defensive line was lethal in this game, but also remember no Chiefs receiver was open as well because of the Eagles secondary. So I'll tell you what, like when it comes into defensive success, at least in my opinion, a good defensive line can mask some of your issues in the secondary, but a good secondary can never mask the issues that you have in pass rush, right? As far as a needle mover, as far as a position group that can really make everyone on the field better, a defensive lineman has that power, right? Because I don't care how good of a wide receiver that you have, but if like you have like a game wrecker and like a solid pass rush that's given the quarterback maybe like 1.5 seconds to get the ball out, like those routes aren't maturing. And so I can care less if Dan Mitchell is out there lined up against like Devontae Smith, right? If you have a pass rush like that, that masks some of the weaknesses that you could have on the secondary and it makes them better. Because a lot of the times, like these wide receivers are getting nowhere near to their maturity level of the route. It's not maturing, right? I like that take, actually. Look at that. A good pass rush can mask some of the weaknesses of your secondary, but a good secondary cannot mask some of the weaknesses on your pass rush. Boom, baby. Damn, man. It's like Nostradamus right there, man. Shout out your boy as the philosopher in here. Oh, my God. Dan, I just did some homework on Douglas. Now that I see what I see, you're right. I think we dropped Douglas. He's getting old, right? Like, what is he, like 31 years old at this point? Like, he played really well when we traded for him, but like last year, like there were so many games where he struggled. And I think that we'd be okay with so I think that we'd be okay with somebody else. But here's something that's really intriguing that I was talking to Colby about. So the Buffalo Bills ended up hiring a new secondary coach, a new DBs coach. All right. All right. And his name is Mike Pellegrino. And let me tell you something about Mike Pellegrino. He was the Patriots' secondary coach for 10 seasons. He was the one, like, how many of us have watched so the Patriots corners and safeties just look lights out for the past 10 years, and we had no reason to, like, so to believe why. This Mike Pellegrino guy completely revived Stephon Gilmore's career. So we all know that, right? Absolutely made so many different CBs on the opposite side excel in their damn game. Like, who was that one guy? Was JC Jackson, right? Like, y'all remember how good that JC Jackson was for the New England Patriots, and then he got shipped off over to LA and like his career died. Mike Pellegrino, the CB's coach for the Buffalo Bills, is a massive move that none of us are talking about. Zero. I'm really excited. And I think our secondary is going to take a massive step forward with how good of a coach this guy really is. His resume is impressive. Think about all the no names that he turned into stars over in New England for the past 10 years. It's Mike Pellegrino, dude. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to show you guys what what we're working with right here. Yeah. Solid dude, man. Solid dude. Super excited. But Dan is the football whisperer. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, the football whisperer, baby. You already know what time it is. All right, y'all. That's going to have to do it for today's episode. As a reminder, I am live twice a day at 10 a.m. EST, 11 a.m. EST, and 5:15 p.m. EST. If you are watching this on the replay, again, I highly recommend that you go on ahead and you subscribe to the channel and then you turn on bell notifications, because I want each and every single one of you to be a part of my live chat community. We have a great time over here. It's all about an open conversation. I love talking to my people. I'm not one of those guys that just goes on ahead and just ignores the live chat the entire time. I want to include you in this conversation. So I genuinely believe that y'all are the best audience on the face of the planet. Smash that like button for me. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't had an opportunity of doing so already. Shout out to William Matar. If you're hurt in a car, call William Matar. And I will see you a bit later on BetUS TV's The Huddle, and then a bit later on a new video that's dropping at 5:15 p.m. EST. Deuces.